My name is George Stapleton, and what do I do? That's a really good question. I think it's important to acknowledge that I work with animals, and my whole point of that is to probably heal myself. I think it's important that you find something you're passionate about and you live in that world and you do it, because what doesn't happen for people, a lot of people, is normal life. And anybody who works with animals will tell you there is no normal life. Right? So if you, why do I do what I do and what is it do I do? That's great. Why I do what I do is really, really complex. What I do is I work with large breed captive animals, mostly carnivores, canines. I work specifically with wolf dogs, but I have helped and worked with a lot of animals that I consider to be probably far more dangerous than wolf dogs ever will be. Caucasian ovcharkas, kagels, these are all primitive breed dogs that people don't know much about, but are very high value, high dollar dogs, and are now starting to show up in shelters in various parts of the world. You get out toward California and you're going to see ovcharkas, you're going to see fully trained Malinois, you're going to see dogs that should not be in shelters because the owner, the business owner, whatever, didn't know what to do, right? I mean, maybe it was more than they chewed. I don't want to blame people for the problem because that solution's never worked. So what I do is, I guess for lack of a better word, is rehabilitate. I don't train, there's a really good term for it. I'm a kynologist, and if you look it up,
a kynologist?
A kynologist, C-Y-N-O-L-O-G-I-S-T. Kynologist is a fancy word for someone who has spent a lot of time doing something with dogs. And it doesn't mean that you're classically trained. I can't call myself a behaviorist, but if you ever see me work with a wolf dog, that's all I'm doing. I'm basically working with these animals to find out if there's something they need or don't need.
So basically, you don't have the certification or the license or whatever.
No, and to be honest with you, there's only 52 people in the whole world that have the certification to be called themselves a canine behaviorist.
Like, you've been doing this for so long. I mean, you're probably better than any.
I don't want to say that because I'm not going to minimize the amount of education it takes for those people to get those degrees. Maybe I have some skills that can keep up with them. But if I were to write a paper, we would clearly see the difference between who is classically educated in what they're doing and who's not. So again, I've struggled to find a word that describes what I am. And that word, when you read the definition of it, you'll clearly see, is for a layperson. It's a person like me who has spent a lot of time working with animals. It primarily comes out of Europe and Russia and areas like that, but it actually does fit what I do. So how I got here is far more interesting, I think, than what it is that I do, because I don't do anything different than almost any other dog person you've ever met. I mean, I'm no different than any shelter worker that has gone up to a dog with the fake arm to find out how dangerous is this animal. I'm no different than anybody, animal control officer, who's gone and had to help somebody with an animal without confiscating it. Or I've done far more things than that. I've been involved with court cases and things that involve wolf dogs, but that's all been over a period of time. Working with these animals for me has probably saved my life. 30 years ago, I came to this place right here, Candy Kitchen. It's now known as Wild Spirit Wolf Sanctuary. And before I talk about myself, I want to talk a little bit about Brittany McDonald, because that's the wave of the future. I think people need to truly understand that people like me and
Brittany,
this Brittany here.
She's great.
She is the wave of the future when it comes to rescue, rehabilitation. What do I mean by that as well? There's a lot of people my age, and you'll encounter them all through life. Look, my generation failed animals. Why do you think we kill 5,000 animals every day? Because we did such a great job? No, I don't think killing that, I don't think that's a great stat. I honestly don't. So I'm hoping that people like her and people like you all, as you develop what you're looking to do, realize that there's a lot of ways to deal with this problem. And that's where I come in, because I've watched it progress with wolf dogs for 30 years. I've watched what's happened. I can tell you why it's happened and what should have happened, what didn't happen. It all boils down to the same thing. You can't rescue your way out of a situation. You can't save every dog. You can't. So how do we fix it? You tell everybody about it. That's it. You educate people. When I show people, and again, let me go back to Brittany. Brittany is, what I mean by the way of the future is the way she runs this place and how this all goes. You know, you see If you've seen any of this today, you see the development of 30 years, but it took her to take it to the level it's going to go to, and to be very, very effective. Just because you have a fancy, really nice place doesn't mean you're effective.
Yeah, no, that
Just means you just mean, you know, so.
We've learned that.
Yeah,
Quite
so-
a few rescues.
As you go
We've
across, and I
learned-
don't mean any disrespect to them, but
No, it's
one of the
just-
biggest problems with rescues is everybody thinks they know what they're doing.
But they don't.
And maybe
And you
they
can get
do,
yourself
maybe for
in big
what they're
trouble.
at, maybe they do, but the reality is that, you know.
Well, they might know what they're doing, but their way might be the right way in their head, and they don't.
Yeah,
you
there's
know.
there is no standard, there's no way
Yeah.
to deal with it. That's because there's so much to do, and there's no really, but.
There's no starting point. There's no middle point.
Well, there
there's no
isn't,
end point.
and when you look at Brittany and what she's doing, you just jump into it and go.
Mhm.
That's where it's at now. Brittany has rescued and placed more wolf dogs than she's put in here. I don't think people realize. For every one dog Brittany has saved here, she has found placement for at least 3 other animals that
Really?
never come into the system.
Wow.
That's dedication. That's the solution. That's how to get it done. So I guess my point is that about Brittany is that without somebody like that, there is no future for any dog, in my opinion, any animal. And because you have to have people with passion and commitment, willing to give up so much to do so little for
Lots
nothing.
of sacrifices.
For nothing. And if you don't have a servant's heart, you'll never do it. You just won't. It won't work for you. You'll always be seeking, you'll always be searching for something you can never have because it doesn't dawn on you that you had it all along.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, like I said, with people like Brittany, it's where I get my opportunities. So I don't really work here. I don't know if you know that. I'm not a volunteer.
Yeah,
here.
no, yeah.
I'm not an intern here. I'm not on staff here.
You just kind of help.
I've given a lot of privileges of interacting with animals and working with animals because of my experiences.
So you
and-
kind of handed it over to.
No. I had
No,
nothing to
somebody
do with
else?
this place. I was actually banned here by one of the previous directors for a long time.
What?
You'd be surprised all the stories that go back. I'm not going to take you all through the history of just
Yeah,
one
yeah.
place, but just imagine every place you've ever been. Has
Yeah.
there never been a story?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I can tell you about Buncombe County and wolf people and what happened there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of craziness that happens around animals. So the point is what do we do today? And today, Brittany's taking this to a whole nother level, and I think that that's the most important thing. I guess I like to think of myself as a friend of these animals, and how I got here 30 years ago. I came here as a typical guy who, I want a wolf. I thought I had a wolf, right? And I had a dog. I was 30? I was in my 30s, and 35, maybe 36. And I brought a dog here that I thought was a wolf dog, and I found out that it really wasn't a wolf dog, and I saw these 2 amazing women, in their 60s and 70s doing this incredible work with these animals, and got some background in the military. I spent some time in the military, had a few other things happen in my life, and it didn't really work out well for me, and I never fit in. I could make it look like I could. I've always been able to be really good. I'm a good chameleon. I can work in a restaurant, I can run businesses, I can do anything, and you never would know. But only for so long.
Yeah.
And then I start finding ways to spiral out or downward or whatever I need to do because I'm really not that happy.
Sabotage.
Yeah, self-sabotage is really easy. I think that I can help here. They don't need people like me too much because she's really good at it. It's just basically reading the animals, interpreting the behavior, and then creating an environment where they thrive, right? I do it more with private owners because you know what I want to do? I want to stop the animals from coming to shelters in the first place.
So they have a wolf dog and they can actually contain it and keep it happy.
Yeah, well, they should have learned all that before they even got one. Just
Well,
like you would say with
granted.
any dog you've ever met, any dog is in any shelter, there's no reason for it to be there. It bit my kid, it did this, it did that, it's not even it, it's an it, right? Well,
Yeah.
you know what? You're an it.
Yeah.
You're shit because you didn't take the
Yeah.
time to figure it out. You didn't figure it out. So
Educate yourself before.
the animal saved my life. I was in a really bad of depression, and I found out, I came in touch with who I was. There was this one particular animal named Nayati who came here, and he was as close to the wolf as I get. You probably haven't seen much like him here. There's close, but not really like that, and he was huge. And I lived in a little 25 by 25 enclosure with him for like 30 days
Oh wow.
to bond with him. He was 10 months old, and something happened. This same animal was one I traveled all over the country with, and we did educational programs and promotional fundraising for the sanctuary. So we did the Environmental Media Awards in Hollywood with people like Harrison Ford, Elizabeth Hurley. I mean, it was crazy. We raised all kinds of money. I did a bit part in a movie called John Carpenter's Vampires, where I trained Nayati, just basically stood there as the sun went down, and we did some Toyota commercials, and all that stuff was. Why did I do all that? I don't know. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't. I just did it because the animal was happy, and I was happy. And I guess it was pretty selfish of me when I think about it, because I don't know if I guess I believed that I was bringing happiness to other people's lives.
Right.
You know, and then it was kind of taken away from me, and I had to leave. So I left, and I think those days are over. I think that one of the things I don't like, and I'm gonna be real honest about shelters.
No, there's a lot we don't like about shelters.
No, this is the biggest one. Is anybody who runs a shelter that uses their animals to control their employees is a piece of straight up.
Oh, meaning like she held it again, like she held it over
whoever,
her
it doesn't
head.
matter. If you're in this shelter here, and not here, it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Anybody says, oh, you can't work with those animals. Why? Because I said so. Okay, why? Because I said so. And it's something you
There's
want.
no real reason.
Yeah, there's no reason. It's simply because it's control.
Yeah.
One of the things I see is in a lot of rescues and big sanctuaries, what's called pathological altruism. That's where basically somebody's bought into their own so much that they actually believe that the world can't exist without them, that this facility couldn't exist without them, that facilities like this can't happen unless I'm part of it. I'm the reason. Pathological altruism, they believe so strongly in their mission that they don't see the damage they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, you look it up and you do a little reading on it, you're going to start to see it.
Oh, I think we've met a few.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I have an opportunity to help owners continue with animals because, again, remember when I think I told you yesterday that I used to believe in the rescue message that you can fix the problem by rescue and sanctuary. You can't. And it started to dawn on me how to fix that problem, and I've said it a couple of times. That's if you teach people buying. So one of the things I'm really adamant about is getting out in public and telling people, tell, show, do, right? You know, if we get enough people to understand that I want to believe in humans. I do. And collectively, if you look at the percentages, you can. You really can. But if you don't teach people, they don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Brittany may have not used the term. You know what a Walmart wolfdog is? A Walmart wolfdog puppy. You'll see them. You keep doing this long enough. You keep keeping your eyes on wolf dogs and wolf hybrids. You'll run across a Walmart and there'll be somebody in the box selling Malamutes, and they're going to sell them for $500 or $600 a pop with no papers. And these people think they're buying wolves, and they go home and they read David Meach's book, The Ecology of a Wolf, and they think they know what they're doing. And basically, they have a dog they never taught how to pee because they think it's a wolf. That's the first thing we can fix while I'm in there.
Really?
And the only reason that I can do it is that I've learned how to, well, besides being a friggin' adrenaline junkie and nothing scares me anymore, I learned how to control it. So what have I learned in 30 years? What have these animals taught me? Self-control. I can go in with any dog. There is no animal that I will not go in with. There is no animal that I won't work with. It doesn't mean that I'd be successful, right? I mean, I'm not a dog trainer. That's the problem, is that I'm the kind of person that hands your animal off to a dog trainer once we figure out what the hell, how come it's like that? What's it trying to tell us? Dogs aren't hard to figure out. Their behaviors are simply trying, their way of telling us what's going on. And if we don't understand it, we don't take the time to understand it, how do we know? So I live in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of wolves because I understand them better than I do people. And it makes a difference to owners when I go visit them. Some owners don't like me because their dogs like me a little better than they do them. They do, and it's okay. Because it's not meant to be, it's not a competition.
Yeah.
But I also get, it's like being a grandfather almost. I get to hand the baby back. I don't have to deal with it in the long run.
You don't have to pick up the poo.
I'm not picking up the poo. I mean, I will, but I'm not, I'm not having to provide the living and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's all kind of, I don't know, it's a fun, for me, it's just, I live my passion. I live my dreams. I live my life. And I quit trying to fit in. I quit trying to say, okay, I need to make this kind of money because this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Underrated.
Well, it's what we all do.
Yeah.
What we all do. It's what everybody. But what I can do is impact every animal's life that I meet, and if that helps people, that's great. But
so basically, you now go to people with wolf dogs to their homes and kind of help them
if they need it. A lot of times they don't. A lot of times they just need reinforcement that they're doing the right thing.
Gotcha.
They're just somebody who has some experience. I mean,
it's almost like you're what do you call that? Consultant.
Kind of.
Yeah,
kind of.
You should call yourself
doesn't pay any money.
Canine consultant.
Yeah, it doesn't make any money. So it's not about that for me. If
nothing that's fun makes money, or nothing that's fulfilling.
What do they say? So here's what you have to do to make money. Here's what you do to have fun. This is the space in between. That's very hard to get to. So I've been very, very lucky, and there are people in this world who like to see me do what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this.
So, okay, what were you gonna say? Backtracking a little bit, you were saying whenever there's no enclosure you won't go into.
Yeah.
So, don't necessarily tell me your secret. I don't think you have a secret.
Right. So yeah, it is. hear them in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I straight up hear
So
dogs.
you're a wolf whisperer, essentially.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
he
weird
kind of
as shit
hears
to
the
hear.
wolf.
But I hear dogs. I hear not all dogs. I can't hear horses. I don't hear a lot of animals.
Oh, can you tell me
You're
what
just
the
more
heck's wrong with mine?
You're more in tune. You're more in tune. Is what I'm trying
I
to say, Mark.
feel, yeah, and with the wolf dogs, I do literally hear them in my head. And if I could tell you what they sound like, it's a very cartoonish. Some of them are very cartoonish.
No,
sounding,
I'm
but
sure.
some of them aren't. But I don't know if that's real. So this is where it gets weird. Okay, how do you know? How do you know if you're not just making it all up in your head?
Mhm.
How do you know?
Doesn't
And I
matter.
can
Is
tell
it
you-
working?
There you go.
Doesn't
the relationships
matter.
that I've built with some of the dogs that I hear in my head, and I call all wolf dogs dogs just because they are. Okay, it's weird, man. I do, and I don't. I constantly battle with: is this all made up? Am I making this
It
up? Am
doesn't
I,
matter.
but the response from the dogs clearly is
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
look and
can I
look.
ask you this then? Have you always had that ability, or
Yeah,
do you
so
feel like
do you want to hear that? No, so this is very cool. And yeah, so I was 7, maybe 8, something like that. We're in Denver. My sister had just been born, and my brother was a couple years younger. We went to the Denver Zoo, and we're wandering around, just a typical zoo. So think of, it would have been like 1968, 69, you guys can't even think of that, but it's just still old-timey, okay?
Yeah.
It's just things are different then. They're very old-timey and just different than they are now. There's no phones, nobody's doing anything, anyway. I'm wandering around and we're looking at all these exhibits and stuff, and we go, that part of the zoo in Denver had these indoor-outdoor panoramas. You go into kind of a building, and they have these big plexiglass things that showed the outside, and it looked like you were looking through a cave.
Mhm.
There were these wolves out there, right? And there was this plaque, and a little wood plaque like that in front of the exhibit, and everything's built for kids in zoos so they can see, right? I mean, you're not gonna be able to read that crap, when I'm 8. And I say, I don't really know what I'm looking at, but in big red letters across it, it says endangered species. And I asked somebody what that said. I didn't ask him what it meant, because when I read it, I read INDANGER, that those animals were in danger. And I thought if I could get them out, they'd be safe. I almost got them out. I got that close at 8 years old to letting the wolves out of the Denver Zoo.
Oh my God, that would
Yeah.
have been a story.
Yeah. And it's all because
You thought they were in
I heard him in
danger.
my head. No, I heard him in my head. And then my little 8-year-old brain thought in danger means endangered and I could help them. But I didn't realize that what I had heard.
Well, I was gonna say, what did you
Well,
hear?
I don't know. To this day, I really don't know. I just know that everything I did
You know,
from
the
that
feeling
point
you
of
got.
reading to when I got stopped, I have no memory of, no recollection of at all. I don't know how it happened or why.
Wait,
I
you got stopped, so you actually
they almost arrested my dad.
I did not.
I got all the way around back. I was in the back. I was
Oh my
in the little
God.
corridors. I was on my way to
That's
figure out, and I have no memory of any of it.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, when you ask me how, I know it sounds crazy. I'm not a Dr. Doolittle anyway, but I do hear these guys in my head, and I specifically
wouldn't say
hear
that.
all of them.
You can read the behavior, and once you can read the behavior, it's as good as words.
Yeah, and maybe I'm assigning it, and people, I don't know, but in the end, anybody who has met me and has let me meet their dogs will say, "Wow, that's something there." It's like Brittany has it. There's a few of us that have it. It's it. I don't know what it is, but there is something
just
there,
there.
and it's a connection, and it's very, very much deeper than working with animals.
Yeah.
And it's for us, those people that do with these dogs, it's about the animal, the wolf dog. But they're not wolves. You can't put a leash on a wolf. Can't put a wolf in an enclosure. That's not wild wolves don't do that, right? These are wolf dogs. All these animals are selectively bred. Some not so well. Some really, really well. Some too close. Some just like any other dog breeder, man. It's just like any other dog breeder out there. So you want to know why I think so many animals go through what they go through is that the veterinary medical field is the only place where you don't get to use insurance. You
That's
pay
true.
for what you get. You don't get the surgery if you don't pay for it up front. That's the way it works.
Up front.
Now, I'm not saying that we should go there, okay? But there are some companies that are trying to create insurance for dogs. There's probably not any way to do it, but then if we don't do that, then what are we saying? People that only have so much money can have a dog? So what? A whole class of people who doesn't make $100,000 a year can no longer have dogs? It isn't.
And
There
dogs
is.
are healing.
So here's the deal. There is no solution to the problem. We created the problem 14,000 years ago,
We create
and it is
everything.
going to be with us forever. We're just stupid. And So I guess the only thing I can do against that kind of wall of tidewater coming is every day try to teach somebody something they didn't know. Every day try to, and I don't do that enough. Of the 365 days a year, I don't teach enough. I should be teaching way more than I am. But I've been doing this and developing more connections with these animals, and because I somehow think that if I do that, I'm going to be able to.
Dude, he could totally have a YouTube channel and like kill it.
Yeah.
You don't shit about that though.
No, but
I
I'm
would
just saying,
if it,
he's talking about he wants to teach people, educate people, and you feel like you're not doing it enough.
Well, no, because
That would be
I
a
don't get
quick
away
way
from the
of doing
dogs
it.
enough, right? I spend too much time with the
But
animals.
you make the dog the channel.
Maybe. I mean, but I would, if I were starting out in the animal rescue world and I didn't have a sizable amount of money, because do not invest in rescue. It's not a good call. Invest in living while you're trying to start a rescue.
That's
That's the only way to do it. But it's hard to make money in the rescue world. It really is, because there's never enough. What you need is a side gig that takes care of all your own personal needs, and then you just
That's
flow through.
exactly what we're doing. That's
That's
exactly
what you should be doing,
we're
because it's really hard to the administrative side. So I've met so many good-hearted people running rescues and shelters, but have absolutely zero business sense at all. Might be something to consider for yourselves, is maybe if you develop a system that helps people just like that run those businesses, so they don't have, think of it from an administrative side. If somebody could buy a program that would help them with their shelter or their rescue, that keeps it all in line, that doesn't, they don't have to write it down on a Post-it note and stick it on the fridge, right? I mean, that's the kind of education I'm talking about too, is we teach the teachers, train the trainers. I would love to teach every single person about wolf dogs, but what I really need to be doing is teaching clusters of people so they can go teach other people. Yeah, I think as my life goes on and I develop what I'm doing, it's just simply about getting the word out about responsible animal ownership. That's what it is. Responsible wolf dog ownership. I believe in it very strongly. A lot of people don't like it. It doesn't mean that I think everybody should own a dog or a wolf dog or anything. I know people should own goldfish.
Yeah.
But they're there. Right?
Yeah.
So, what do? We hopefully help and teach the next group. And, one of the things that's kind of cool, when I was with NAPI, that dog 20 years ago or 25 years ago that I was working with, I went and visited elementary schools in Albuquerque, and one of those people ended up becoming part of the Forest Service and working with the Mexican gray wolf.
Oh, wow.
And, I'd like to think that dog and I...
Who's endangered now, isn't he?
Huh? Mexican gray wolves?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been in danger. They've been reintroduced. It's still, you never know. You never know whose life you're going to touch in what way.
Exactly.
And maybe that wolf dog and my talk about...
completely changed the course of their lives.